unfortunately, FX Blue doesn't let you run more than one account. I don't know how, there's no magic number. So this is the account I just blew up. Now this started out trading 1Ks. I had a hotkey set to buy one on a stop and one on a limit. I'm sorry, no, it was just pure stop actually. But it was just one or two stops. I think it was one stop. It was so every time the market pulled back and I was there to pull the trigger, I hit the buy stop key and it just kept getting filled. And this was kind of a big drawdown at the time because there was $10,000 in the account. So that's kind of like if you put 10 grand in an account, you're down 2 grand. You're like, huh? What? And see, now you're thinking, oh, it's great, wonderful. And then here, I didn't trade much because the scripts weren't written to trade in. Now, if I had rewritten the scripts to trade like during the elections, which would be, oh, let's put a 300 pip stop in and try to make 500 pips. Yeah, you did this wonderful trade. So as soon as the ATR kicked up, forget about it. And I think it just, at this point, I decided I was just going to, now I had rewritten the script here to, actually another problem here is that the equity is slamming down because I put in a buy stop, 2 buy stops on each key. So I went from 4K to 8K, really. I doubled the amount of trading. And I think that the stops are still the same tightness. But I would have sold here on this guy's strategy. So I've been testing a volatility strategy, but I was just looking at my looking back on this other video about the strategy of trading. So I had to open a new account at this FX. Open a new account in the broker. Another thing with that broker is that when I was up here, actually the market came all the way back to here. That was when the market went like this. And I could have got out there and I'd actually survived the market coming down almost to my stop here. So it went into a swing trading mode there because I wasn't here Monday. And I just didn't have a chance to get to it. And when I turned around, I was like, oh, I'm on my way back to 10 grand. There you go. And this is because I loaded in so hard. I mean, I maxed out every order you could trade in this account. I was in about, I don't know, $500,000, at least $500,000 to 8 standard lots. And so, you just drive off a cliff there. And I think, it's just, and no selling. No selling. And the market's kind of drifting down at this point. In other words, this is the election here, the forensics here. Here's like the elections here, really trade, and then there was, I guess, we went flatline there, and I got stopped out on coming in there, and just really never. Actually, here I got to buy. So I got to buy the market now. So I have open a new account. I'm on the new account here. I just rewrote the script to put on buy limits and buy stops on the same key. And so here I have buy stops stacked up, and here's my buy limits. And set it, forget it. This is 4 hours, 1 hour and one key. And I'm trying to strip this down to like really simple. I just have the 4 keys here now. I never wrote the sell side yet either, so that's another thing. If I had written the sell side, it would be a completely different story. Now, on the left here, I've got the half hour with the ATR set. So this is actually in the original. This is still in there. This is, I'm just going to try to keep on trimming this down to get it to the most blockhead systematic trading system where you don't have to think about it. You can still draw those really pretty girls on top of the chart, but this is a cool indicator that I just retuned. I got rid of the all the other lines. This is a half hour, and it's nothing special about the lines. It's just a volatility gauge that every half hour that'll update. So I'm also testing this robot somebody sent me, and it's got some the issue is that it's not directional. So, but it's really one of these things that kind of grid trades, and it is looking for volatility. It claims it's basing its stop and loss based on volatility, but I don't know. I don't know how it was on HUD. I was able to do many versions of it though, so that's a whole nother weekend drama of breaking out the strategy tester, the robot that's going to model the market, which whatever that means. But here I think it's going up to retest this yellow line. It's pretty simple, and this is the kind of the price pulse, and this is the binary view on the left. So this view to me is very blockhead like. So let's say that you had these dotted lines here, which represents 11 pips of range all the way to about 5 pips. You just pick the number. That if you were to trade this very like without blowing it up, without blowing the account up, it would consist of you finding a script that fits the pip range here. So if you have a breakout script, it's a scalp, a burst in the market, which it shouldn't be that hard to do. I mean, anything that's below 11 pips, you would have an 11 pip button. So you'd have 11 pip stop on that to make, say, 22 pips, just for starters. Then you could have a, I'm going to buy in a limit zone of 10 pips, because the market volatility is currently, I mean up to date, minute by minute, because 30 minute by 30 minute. If you go to the 15 minute in the rearview mirror, you're looking at all the trades you missed here. So you never want to look at this chart. From a binary standpoint, you're getting kind of whiplash here. If you very simple rule set. If it's black and it's going down, and the ATR is below something, you've either got a buy stop or a buy limit, because it's too late for you to it's probably more like a buy limit, because this is too big of a bar. Like if you miss this entrance here, I mean, let's face it, if you miss that entry, you fucked up. I mean, you just have to, the problem with the trading thing is that it's this constant, children have a more stable, the most chaotic child has a more stable lifestyle than these markets. So look at the 15-minute chart. So if you're trying to manage entries here of what strategy to run or how to get in tactically, say the market is in, of course this is 20 pips from here to here, so let's just say you are looking to only pull the trigger when you're below, you're in here, right? So you're a real low frequency trader. You only take trades that are below this, right around 7 pips. Now, if you have something that's going to buy 7 pips deep, in other words, it's going to sell a few pips up, you're living in this world. I mean, it's just that it's such an undiscussed thing as volatility. I don't know why people aren't talking about that. I keep saying that, but I swear to God, everybody's like, well, you see this RSI is oversold. I mean, yeah, but how many pips are we risking on this fucking stupid idea? How many pips are we risking? I mean, if this is 20 pips and I need to make 20 pips a day, okay, you're doing that all day long. If you need to make 300 pips on one trade because you're looking for the completion of some ungodly pyramid, I say, anybody want to start a Mayan trading Forex group? Well, I trade pyramids, personally. There's no pattern for me that's never made more money than the double top pyramid trade. And I'm telling you, okay, so yeah, I know, sold up here, bought here, duh. I kind of like a series of but see, it's the looking into the future. That's the whole point, right? The big problem I have with that whole Batwing shit is that you're not looking for, you too look to the left. Let's go to the right. Come on, let's go to the right. You can't make money from the left side of the chart. Broker told me straight out. Okay, so here is the trend line. So this is the same time frame, believe it or not. But this is just the binary view, and this is the tops become bottom view. This is about as simple as it gets, right? Top become bottom, right there. You had a buy limit there. You scalped to here. You know the sellers are going to come on up here, right? I mean, how many times have we seen this? So are the sellers going to be able to hold it there, and is it going to tumble down? Probably not. After going down for how many days now? This is the first bullish day. And look at the ATR here. Only 412 pips. Only. Today only. I got 200 pips here on this 4 hour. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the pressure build up here. Now, if this is 20 pips, so if you've got the right script for that, now that's the thing. Do you have scripts that can make this little bit of money? And when this stuff comes along, do you have scripts that can make that money? Okay, that would be, I would say, you'd almost need another computer, right? With the scripts written. I mean, I'm talking about hotkey trading. Certainly you could have hand placed an order there and rearrange the take profit. You know, after you drop one of these drop orders, you don't have to, you can still move around your stuff. But let's just say that you did have a news script or whatever this is, you have that available to you. Do you wish you would have traded 5 standard lots on that move? Yeah, probably. But if you're trading 5 standard lots all the time waiting for that move, you might get stopped out. This is the problem. I think everybody's figured that out, right? So the thing is look at this thing and look at this walk down, this drift down, and this is where the account went to 10,000, back to 10,000 here, because this was finally the fractal. If you're just counting black white, you know, you can see the simple fractal here. And if you go to the 1 hour, of course, here you're relying on these kind of small things. Now, you would have got trapped here, say, on the upside, but if you let the whole thing play out, if you're actually going to build into a position here of, say, 10K, and you get kicked out of 2K because, oh, they're trapping up here and whatever. But if you keep pulling the trigger, you're rolling into these two here. So you would have got filled on the south side more than the north side. So you are going to get chopped out on stuff. Okay, so I'm going to put a buy stop in now. And here we're still holding on the 15, this setup. So the scalpers got out. The sellers came in just like you thought they would up here at the top. At this last bottom. This is just a painfully obvious thing that happens every day. The only difference is, and this is why trading is difficult, is that this is the only reason why trading is difficult, is because of the volatility. Because if you think about the fact that what if you every day you went outside and you got in your car and they fucked with the speedometer, and now it's like, oh, so you mean when I'm going 20, I'm actually going 200 miles an hour today? I mean, think about that. That's the problem. So I would say the first thing, and this is from somebody that just blew up an account, of course, but like I said, I'm not charging for this. You know, I could give you a Ferrari, and nothing's going to stop you from getting drunk with some hot babe and plowing into a tree. Right? How about that guy over in California in the Porsche, some guy that was in one of these Batman movies or something? You know, he's out there fucking around with his high-end car. Okay, listen, anytime you're fucking around with something high-end, the high-end's not going to save you from utter neglect, okay? So the market's like a child, and your account is like having a kid that is just off the rails. So today he may be playing with Play-Doh. Next day he's playing with knives and lighter fluid. Okay. The volatility of the market, it's like, oh, everything was just going great there in Asia, and all of a sudden, or some news came out, And people are like, what the? And people are just astounded. They're not talking about, that just moved 800 pips. Can you fucking, I mean, on a normal day, it's like your car going, oh, now your car is doing 3,000 miles an hour? No, come on, what kind of fucking, so it's not set up for fucking humans to do, right? Now, if you own say you're whatever, an attorney, most people come into you, they're fucking like, oh my God, you got to help me. Or unless they're trying to, sell you something. But that's a normal, you can almost expect, your car is safe, I parked my car. I mean, people come out and they look at their car, they're like, yeah, it looks like the tire's a little low on here. It's not what, in the trading environment, it's not like that. It's like you come out and your car's been blown up and it's just, your car's gone. Everybody's gone. The whole town's, it's like a Twilight Zone episode. The whole town's gone. So this market, look at the euro dollar. This thing's slamming around all over the place. It went up how many pips? It went down how many pips? The stock market went down how many? It went down 750. It's up 1,500 from there. That's the problem with the volatility. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes a fight to break out, right? And that's really the problem I'm seeing. And, it's, you could be seriously up on a trade. And unless you're really good at math, you're like, I am so up on this trade, I can't believe how much. Next thing you know, it's all gone because you don't realize that you just happen to catch you just happen to be in on maybe a segment of a giant move that is inside of a segment of a gianter move that's inside of so it's like a vibration. The market's vibrating. But the market's not vibrating at any kind of consistent vibration. A market that finally calms down and stops vibrating, but then it goes back to vibrating. So unless you have a vibrating trade, in other words, you have to have a way to get in and out. So people think it's like bull riding. Now bull riding, you have to be on the bull for 8 seconds. It's kind of like a scalp. And I think that's it. If you 8 seconds, you're winner. But they let the guy get on the bull before it leaves the gate. Amazingly. Much to his advantage, he's able to get on during the Asian session. And, the thing is that after that, they don't ever ask these guys to get on, these bulls, when they're all just all pepped up, And they don't get on then, because that would be a contest in and of its own, right? I would say the contest would, can you get on the fucking bull? It's not about, can you stay on the bull? Can you even get on, right? So when the market's slamming around, you're like, what in the fuck? Like, how are you going to take advantage of this condition? Now, when the market's dead and it's in the gate and it hasn't moved yet, a lot of people say, well, I hate that market. It's just noise. It's not going anywhere. Oh, but it's going to go somewhere. And it's like, how does it get out of the pen? Like, how does the bull or the bear get out of its thing? Does it kick out? And does it just run? Does it just do a clean run? Or does it smash around and then take off? So if it's smashing around and taking off and you've got orders pending out there and you're not scalping something, you're not taking something off of the vibration, because the thing is that you can't capture a single, it's all commingled. You can hardly take advantage of every magnitude or of a single magnitude. Like, in other words, if you dialed your world into saying, I will only risk 50 pips to make 100 pips, sometimes that's not applicable. You're going to have to move to a different currency pair to keep that same rule. And that would mean that as soon as you go to another currency pair, you're going to be like, oh, look at this Gartley pattern. So it really fucks with your head. I mean, it's like, how many cars are you going to own? Now, if you're trading 10 pairs, I've met people that trade 22 pairs. I'm like, well, obviously you're putting in like monster stops. I mean, who's going to babysit 10 children and they all have different psychoses, So I'm looking at it like that because sure, if I'm sitting there and I've got my finger on the trigger and I'm looking at the 1 minute chart and I'm trading really big, I can scalp there, in, out, in, out. You know, this is like you just have this, you know, you're in and out so frequently that you're never exposed to giant swings or giant trends against you. Because obviously, every time you buy and sell, you may be right for 10 milliseconds or 10 seconds, but at some point, the market has to vibrate up and down. It's as simple as that. Okay, it looks like we're going up here. But I'm already in. Now, that's another thing. How big are you in? Is it okay to let that one play out knowing you can get back in? Or if you right now are long, you may be throwing these buy limits like this. Okay, so this is 1 hour, and this is 1 hour. So I say I have this trailing. I'm just going to buy that if it plunges. And if it keeps going up, or maybe I just get everything right now, right? So this is where the sellers are supposed to come in. Well, maybe they don't. So if I wait and I've got the ATRs telling me, okay, we're still below the, once it gets below 2, you stop trade. If it's above 20 pips here, maybe, you know, maybe your rule, maybe your rule at that point is that you just don't trade. You let everything play out that you have in there. And when it goes to a higher ATR, maybe you're putting sell limits above. And, you know, the market's going to go up and down, and accepting the fact that, yeah, it's going to spike up there. And if you wanted to get fancy, you would just look for the ledges to place. So if you figure once we get to this price here, there's going to be a huge debate. Is this going to be a breakout or a fake out zone? So you can see that in advance. It's about, 40 pips. What was that? 40 pips above where we're at here. 30 pips away. So all my take profits are on the way to that spot. But maybe this is it. So what if I take everything off here, close all profits, and I'll just put in tighter buy limits. This is another option. So those, all my winners are coming off very slowly in this account. That's another reason why that account was really scalpable. Was in a $2,000 position. I made $8,000 on that one move, and then a flat line. So even when it was underwater, and I couldn't have got out. It would take me about 15 minutes to get out of all those tickets, because it lets me place orders quickly, but for some reason, even on this demo, I'm not able to get out quickly. So I just dumped all my winners. Now I'm going to buy super tight here, almost like market orders. I mean, it's ridiculously tight, but only limits now, because I've got so much time left. There still could be a kickback before we continue up. So if I go to the 15-minute, if your threshold for placing orders is below 11, you had, say, buys or sells here. Probably buys if you think it's going up. And then, so we could still get a plunge before the opening of whatever. So I could put these plunge orders in here. I got rid of these 12-hour orders because it was taking, there's a limitation on how many orders I can place on this broker, so it was taking up too much space. They're very aggressively trailing this with 1 hour buy limits for possible pullback here. But yeah, that's the story. It really has to do with this volatility issue, and it's just it's a problem. Here you would have got whipsawed and trapped, say. I don't know exactly what it played out there during that 15 minutes. But there's another reason why, just because you wouldn't just want to trade on stops. Now, you could have made money on this, believe it or not, had you had sell limits and buy limits there, buy stops, depending on how you gauge your exits. So if you're in a car that goes, today your car is going 1,000 miles an hour. Now you have to estimate how long is it going to take you to get to the store, what can you get done this morning. It really changes the landscape of everything inside the world of that ride that you're going to take. So you're riding a bull, you're riding a wild animal, whether you like it or not, if you're gonna go into the market. And as soon as you go in at the market, literally buy and sell at the market, that's quite a it's quite a feat, because you have to be able to see that those are short-lived. For you to be dead on, like you could have sold right here. If I go to the 1 minute chart, you could have sold right there on that small thing and say, you know what, I'll stay with it to here, and then 2 more pips, I'm out. Right there, you're out. Because if it's really going down, wouldn't you just put a sell limit up here? Just put a sell limit up there. Get back in, right? I mean, if you're really right, that original price should have been great. Why wouldn't you get back in here? But see, people can't think like that, because they're like, well, yeah, but that was then, this is now. Everything's changed. Well, how? Well, it already sold off. I don't want to sell it now. I'm going to sell high, buy low. If I put a sell limit up here, I'm saying that I was wrong. Just held on. I mean, there's so many things that you're saying by the kind of order you place. Why did you place that order? And another thing occurred to me is that, does it matter whether I made 20 pips in a counter trend move or 20 pips in a trend move? In other words, if the money that I make is because I'm trading with the trend, or is the money that I make coming from counter trend? And I just mean a pullback, as opposed to like if this is an uptrend on the 1 minute and you just scalped this off the top. No, we just sold here, you sold here, you sold here, you didn't make so much money. And the buys, they weren't the best either, because it was choppy. This was the ultimate pressure buy, down, 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 bam. Everybody bails up here. So does it matter if you say, well, I'm a trend continuation trader, therefore I should be making my money from trend trading. If I'm not following my plan, therefore blah, blah, blah. And so is it now, if you made money from doing stuff that was outside of your trade plan, I mean, you have to say, well, why am I making money on that? Like, how am I making money on something that goes against my trade plan? I don't know if anybody's made money accidentally, but that is the other thing. How am I making money from just not doing what you do? So right there, you would say, well, my sell limit's still good to have up here now, because, hey, I could end up, they could come back here, find buyers, and then go slamming up and go blowing through my sell limit. So I'm actually buying this thing. So the buy stops are built into that. And so dumping here, the sellers did come in. Okay, but maybe that's just a scalp. But that's all the stuff that, like the speed limit's going to change here. Certainly when the jobs report comes out in 2.5 hours, in 2.5 hours we could have already taken out the high of the day. So I don't know if that helps.